to me, consistent in his gameplay. He doesn't seem to be someone that rushes or makes impulsive decisions, and I think that keeps him from making big mistakes, and that's why he's been on top of the European scene. So with that being said, we're loaded into 2,000 atmospheres in the Northeast. We have the Red Terran player representing Team Liquid. He is Clem.
In the bottom, caught me. In the bottom left, playing for Sidestorm, he is Gerald. And he is certainly the underdog. No doubt about that. He has not won against Clem in a series since last year, September of last year. Where Clem was, I guess, still, becoming perfect form Clem, which has kind of happened at this point, despite some abrupt, departures from tournaments. It still is pretty much Clem top 3 of Europe. Gerald still proving to be top 4 of a particular group. So it is, I guess, worthy noting that if he were to at least take a map, that can impact the overall group. That might be what he's kind of hoping for here.
Yeah, and I think if you're coming at this series from Clem's perspective, I think that the things you want to keep in mind are what kind of builds do you not like to play against on the ladder, stuff like that, and is there anything that you're particularly concerned about? Get your SCV scout nice and early. Make sure that you're not getting hit with some sort of proxy or cheese. It's a very common sort of scenario where the underdog player will try to do something, like maybe that proxy second gateway, 2 stalker rush sort of deal, or the max packs build, but obviously not something that we see as much anymore these days. People have lots of practice against it, but that pylon on the right side, Jess, tells me that perhaps we will see a little bit of that sucker punch build, trying to get something going early to knock Clem off kilter a little bit, or even perhaps just hiding the pylon. I think the probe being there kind of tells us that he'll build something. Stargate is going to be the choice. So now there is going to be just that little bit of pressure. Clem, will he spot it? Will he have the units that he needs to defend it? And if he has those units, will they be in the right place to prevent damage from happening anyway? Losing a Marine or even just getting damaged a little bit on a few of them could set an Oracle up to come in and maybe even just kill some of those you defend.
The proxy Oracle can definitely get you a little bit of a head start, grab maybe 4 SCVs or, forces you to pull the SCVs off the line, right? And then it lives. So you can cast Revelation, get the scouting, go into a Twilight Council anyways, just increase your chances of the Oracle doing damage. Can be a solid way to start. A little bit of micro war going on. Clem didn't open up with a Reaper, so Gerald knows that his build is pretty safe. It's actually going to go for a Void Ray, which I'm very surprised by. And then also, decided to bring all of his units across the map to kind of tango with Clem, who has not built a bunker, which is a little dangerous. Now he's got to plant that Wood of Mine down in case another unit is on the way, like a third unit, a second stalker could be dangerous. That pulls defenses away from the main base. And if an Oracle was hitting, this is definitely an opportunity where it could have gotten maybe even 5 SCVs. Now, the Void Ray, though, I'm like, can it get more than 2 SCVs if you pull fast enough, right? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, the advantage of the Void Ray in this situation is that you're not energy limited, right? But he doesn't have the damage against the Marines, and I guess there's enough Marines that they would have been able to deal with an Oracle probably anyway. And so definitely a rocky start, because the Void Ray, it walks in, and then it walks out the other way, just keeps on going. So not a whole lot of value generated there. And now, because of where the Void Ray is, and there's going to be this Viking coming out, I don't think the follow-up Oracle really has too much more that he's going to be looking to do. But I guess we'll see. I think did he recall the Void Ray there?
He did, which means he's not going to be able to recall this anyways. It's going to die for a multitude of things. Yeah. Viking or Cyclone or Wood of Mine. But yeah, overall, I'm very confused. I really thought that the pulling away, recognizing that opportunity would have led him to actually double down on an Oracle, not change his mind to a Void Ray or keep his mind on Void Ray. I don't know what his initial plan was. Because the only thing the Void Ray's got going for it, as you said, it's not energy restricted, sure, but it also survives a Wood of Mine hit, right? So you know, you can get hit and then still do some damage or even take it out, and then the Oracle can come in. But I don't know, because the Oracle is almost never going to do that much damage anyway. So pretty much no matter what scenario we're talking about, the Oracle 3-shotting SCVs just doesn't make it potent. So usually we're talking about speed, urgency, get in there, get out, use it, you know, as an opener. And to add a Void Ray in there, even though it's less expensive than in the past, it just, I mean, now it's going to be used for anti-drop defense, I guess, but I just, I would have preferred right with the Oracle and only the Oracle, personally.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think we're both kind of on the same train with that, especially with the damage done to the Marines. At the very least, if they're split up, I think the Oracle had a chance to get a couple of very quick kills, and maybe the energy wouldn't be as much of a problem, but it's neither here nor there, as that was then and this is now. So the Templar Archives is going to be the follow-up as Blink completes, +1 is on the way for those ground units, and Gerald does have his third base. I mean, we see this happen a lot. Protoss kind of does this early aggression in some way, tries to keep the Terran player honest with their economic decisions, and then you take that third base way faster than them, ramp up the probe count really quickly, and try to turn that into a big push onto the Terran's third base while they're still a little bit vulnerable. But here comes that first attack from Clem onto the third. These Stalkers just getting kind of getting their butts kicked a little bit, losing a few on the opening there. The Marines, however, with the warp-ins and the shield batteries, I'm not sure if just this mount will be enough to get through there. Somehow that Widow Mine is just not going off at all. Really good play around that by Gerald. And Clem overstimming a little bit too, actually, as that Void Ray comes back.
Yeah, Gerald's not had perfect micro here, losing some Stalkers unnecessarily, but that was actually a little respectful trade, you know? We had Clem microing the Widow Mine, we had Gerald microing his Stalkers. It can be a very delicate part of this particular matchup. When you're facing Clem especially, it does feel like Clem, when he wins a lot of his TDPs, it looks very brutal because it's usually with like his first push, just because he hits a little bit faster, a little bit harder, and then micros, right? And then the second push is also still really dangerous when he has the ability to drop and push. If Gerald could survive this, then I actually am a little hopeful for Gerald. But you know, that is the question. Is he going to survive this? As his High Templar gets just knocked out, his Stalkers are completely out of position, going to lose the overcharged shield battery, and it looks like Clem might just be getting the exact same victory he's gotten against many other Protosses in the past.
Yeah, and the whole army's just going to get bowled over. That production, he's so good at the macro part of the game, even with some of the units he was losing earlier with some of those slightly awkward trades. Doesn't really ever seem to phase Clem, and that is why he's one of the terrors and the titans of the European StarCraft scene, of the global StarCraft scene, as he's just getting more and more work done. The worker advantage going in favor of Terran. We know that with Mule income back on the other side of the map, that's going to turn into a huge mineral income differential between the two of them. And as long as he's killing these expensive Stalkers, Gerald's not going to be in a good position to try and go back across the map and do anything on the other side. So Clem, yeah, this force is going to be pushed back, but he's up 50 supply on the way out of there, and I don't think that he's going to stop bringing the pressure anytime soon. He's even got that turret back with the rally point just in case of DT backstab. He's thinking 7 steps ahead, but Gerald, he doesn't even have the tools to get 5 steps from where he is right now.
It's kind of a frustrating loss for any Protosses. It's why I feel like I see a lot of them just stay in as long as Gerald has, you know, because it is fruitless. We know that. I'm 99% sure that Gerald knows that. It feels like, you know, damn it, Clem, I didn't even get started, you know? Like, I didn't get to play the Protoss side of PvT. Could you just let me blink?
Do my build, baby rage.
Exactly. Could you let me blink? Could you let me get in the middle of the map? Like, just for a second, you know, just give me something to work with. And Clem's like, nah, you're never getting past your own third base. Sorry, man. I spent all night mathematically calculating out the perfect build to defend Clem's bio push on 2 bases, and they didn't let me do it. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. This has been a tough one. Gerald, the proxy Stargate didn't really do a whole lot for him, and then that just sets you up to take the damage back on the other side. Shield batteries with Archons can be a big sustaining force, but we still don't even have the energy for the storms on those Templar, I guess, is why we're not seeing that come out. So the Templar largely dealt with. Is going to keep warping in Zealots, but these Widow Mines, with the armory being complete, are not revealed after they shoot. So that is also just a really good offensive bulwark that he can keep rallying to. I mean, those guys go off cooldown. He can actually kill this army going back in. Some of them just barely get away. But now he has coverage if more Zealots charge him. So
Right.
there you go.
The game-ending push is finally on the way. The reinforcements with this particular one. And Gerald's, you know, if he saved more in every step of the process, then, you know, and also had storms as opposed to being caught, you know, shy every single time. I see how he continues to hold on. But he had lost so much in every engagement that there really wasn't that well, you retain some of the important units, you know, that's how you get back into the game. Because if you do have 12 stalkers of the entire game, even if you're being hit from multiple sides, there's actually a lot of utility there. But he was just, you know, he really had nothing to work with.
No, it did not. And that's the hard part. If you're going to make that investment into the early aggression and it doesn't do anything and you still want to take the quick third base, you're saying, yeah, I don't have anything. Come kill me, I guess. Just stalkers. We're able to defend the first push, which I was initially impressed by that. I was like, okay, I guess he's not going to immediately crumble here. But that second, that third wave, if he goes 100% into something like Zealots, does he just get kited to death and killed by the Widow Mines? He tried to get the Storm with everything else and the upgrades. And he, you know, it's like he needed to do all of those things. But when you're up against Clem, even if you have the money, you can't really afford to. It's like you have to just, I don't even know. I don't even know. Like he's just so fast. He's so responsive on everything. And it felt like there were no opportunities. Even if the Oracle was alive, right? Like if he could have been able to get a tag on the army trying to leave, if he had just a little more heads up notice, like these are all small things that end up compounding in a big way. And that I think the Void Ray just ended up flying back into one of those later fights and just getting shot down by a mine or Marines. And that's just hard. That's a really hard position to play from, Zombie Grub.
It is, yeah. I think pretty much the way that I've seen Gerald almost live against Clem in the past, which I know sounds like I'm making fun, but that's what we talk about. Like, who's lasted the longest against Clem, right? What were they doing to almost win against the guy? Is that, yeah, he gets a very solid build order that gives him a little bit of scouting and a little bit of that map control. So an Oracle into Blink is one of those builds, but Void Ray was a little different. And then he survives just barely the first two pushes, gets about 2 or 3 Zealots on the other side of the map just to interrupt Clem a little bit, give him a little bit of breathing room, and then actually has 4 bases moving on to that splash technology. That's how I've seen him almost win. It calms Clem down, it gets rid of his momentum, but then Clem still wins the late game anyways. But when he doesn't, when he just gets totally trashed like last game, yeah, it's because he starts losing units from the get-go. So that's the really important thing here, I think, for game number 2. Basically, just don't lose any units. Try and play the most perfect first 6 minutes of your life, because this guy in the top left is already down a game. It is Psystorm's Gerald.
I see that music just got me ready for a Dark Souls boss fight. His opponent in the bottom right, the red Terran player from Team Liquid, he is Clem. And that one had me back in Cyberpunk. Except I'm not glitching through the floor. I'm not glitching through the floor, so not quite there. Close, but not quite there.
Okay. Woo. It would be nice to start things off with an SC vehicle, wouldn't it? Get you back in the swing of things, but Clem's a little too good. Gerald's been going for the forward gateway placement, helping to wall off his natural, but then also a little bit faster, bringing his army across the map. And again, I think the actual start to last game, the Adept and the Stalker, was something that almost lined up an opportunity. So I liked the first 3 minutes. I liked it a lot, and then it just quickly went downhill from there.
Well, I think you made a good point, right, about the way that you kind of try to disrupt the Terran's flow, keeping them honest, being able to try to squeeze a few Zealots back out on the other side. You got to do something to throw them off that rhythm. And I mean, we kind of go into this new game, take a fresh look at it, assuming that there's not a completely botched proxy, which for all intents and purposes, that's what it was. He did a proxy. It really didn't do anything other than, sink a bunch of resources in that kind of just went nowhere. So going straight into the Twilight here, maybe this is going to be Blink and do a really fast third with lots of gateway units and an attempt to crack Clem when he gets his third. A lot of Protoss pushers are based around when that Terran gets the third base, since they're supposed to have their own up a little bit earlier. Or, I don't know, maybe he's going to build a Robo and a DT Shrine right now. But I'd kind of like to see him try to play something with where he can kind of lend those micro strength, use maybe some crazy Blink Stalker micro. But I mean, honestly, I'm trying to be like, yeah, just do this and beat the best Terran player in the world. I don't know about that. Is that it? Can't is there a build that just lets you beat someone who's this good? I'm not really sure that StarCraft is in that place. I think the best part about the game is that people who are this good generally don't really lose to anybody except people who are equally as good.
Yeah. And I'm with you as far as the build order goes. I want Gerald to go for a very fast Nexus. Definitely don't forgate this guy. That's not going to work. I mean, Max Pax tries, and sometimes I guess it does okay, but no, don't do that. And we see it unfold here. Gerald goes for the Blink opener, and then doesn't even get a second gateway first. So it was a Robo and then a Nexus, pump out some of the observers, get that map vision, because you are missing it. You don't have the Stargate with the Oracle. And then I would love to see actually a decent number of Stalkers before powering up the charge number. And a little more of that control, which he was entirely missing last game. He got pushed when his Blink kind of finished, and he never got back on the map afterwards. So that's how I want to see this game play out. That's how I've seen Gerald get to the mid game and have a fighting chance. So I'm happy to see it work out this way for him. And we're talking so much about what Gerald has to do, can do, must do, because you're not, you don't worry about Clem. You're like, oh, he's Hellions, oh, he's Ravens, oh, he's Widow Mines, whatever. Everything's going to work for Clem anyways. So let's focus on the guy who needs to be the one to mix things up and needs to play, as perfectly as he possibly can, because Clem, well, he almost always plays about as perfectly as he can. He's pretty consistent.
Yeah, Clem is like if you're pitching against Clem, he's gonna hit the ball no matter how you throw it. Like there is no option where he messes up or you catch him off guard. That Widow Mine though, almost getting Gerald off guard. The probes barely escaped there, but I mean, even in this situation, the income is dropping off huge amounts of resources. Thank you, based observer god, missing out. There's a 1,200 resource income differential for even just a few seconds is so nice. Like, just being able to put that pressure on, even if he's not able to kill all the probes, you can still see the value there in that graph from just being able to say, okay, well now if you had something that you wanted to do at the 6-minute mark, Clem, he can still do it. Gerald, maybe not so much. Maybe it's gonna be like a 625, 630 sort of thing. And those little moments and instances, every inch, every meter adds up, zombie grub. And that's what makes Clem so terrifying, because he has not skipped a beat. And now this Raven is going to show up and kind of punish these Stalkers being out on the map, because you got to run the probes away or let them die.
And the Raven's not going to get punished at all. I mean, and Clem's not going to get punished either. He doesn't need this Raven back at home to do anything against some measly few Stalkers. So it really is just kind of free damage. Gerald's going to try and do something. More power to him as he sees kind of an open opportunity on a Romana side. Then he has to make sure that he doesn't get caught from behind, as these Stalkers are, his detection, his map presence, his map presence and his map scouting. There we go, his scouting. So it's, don't lose him as you try to build up your Colossus count. He's actually going to go ahead and just move quickly onto charge. So, we used to call this almost like a fake Colossus when there was only one and there wasn't any extended thermal lance. And I'm not sure that's actually was his intention here, but seeing that it was a Raven, I think he's really scared of having dependency on Colossus, even though they're very good on Romana side when you have these nice little defensive areas.
Yeah, this map also just has a bunch of those. The way that it's laid out, right, is also just generally very nice for Terran. If you're not playing a prism-focused opening on the Protoss side, then you're definitely, at a little bit of a disadvantage, I think, on Romanta side. As the tank's going to siege up, he's got 3 mines covering it. The Colossus has been zoned out of the natural, so there is no real easy way to dislodge this bio army. The Stalkers step up on the tank, and actually some good micro there on the Colossus. He is able to kind of bait him into that fight while, he still lost 11 probes in this. I think as long as he got those probes, he's happy. Marines coming in from the top side. He brought that other drop back over. The Colossus is dead anyway. A take it all back, Zombie Grub. Clem, looking sexy as hell. He's kicking some serious ass here in this match.
Gerald once again caught a little bit out of position. His stalkers kind of had to be every which way. They're returning home, so he couldn't really start the engagement before Clem was already in his base, was already threatening a pylon, already threatening all of his probes. So, you know, if he could have taken some of the army losses or the one Colossus loss, if he had kept all of his stalkers alive, all of his probes alive, and he didn't. He took damage every which way we looked. So Clem doesn't have anything in particular to worry about. No massive amount of charge lots, no 2-3 Colossus. So might just be a stim to win situation.
Yeah, well, especially without the Colossus, right? The gateway units aren't going to contest an army at these amounts of supply, right? You're going to need overwhelming numbers if you're playing without those power units. This Colossus is doing a decent job of kiting, but there's enough Marauders in this army that you still have to be very cautious about how you step forward. If they're able to get a good spread out and dive that Colossus, it will die very quickly. It's just a matter of making sure that you're constantly warping in units. That Stalker count is getting to the point where, yeah, Clem doesn't want to fight against that anymore. But here's the smart thing about him, right? Straight up to the top with those medevacs. And oh my goodness, look at that pylon. Look at that juicy, thick pylon going down. You can't warp in squat. And now he's dropping in your natural. Good luck. Have fun with that.
Not much you can do, especially as you collect all of his forces together. You're once again facing a kind of fearsome Terran army. Clem's going to play it safe, not get all bulked up in the natural, and just get out of there with like 10 medevacs. Raven is finally going to get taken down. No more harassment, no interference matrix, but Gerald's already taken all the damage that he needed to take for Clem to win. I don't know where he comes back from this. He is trying to get to a second Colossus, but it doesn't even have extended thermal lance, so it's always a bit more vulnerable to those pounces from the Marauder. And there's not really a whole lot protecting that Colossus. Like, there's that literal bodies in front of the bio is what the Colossus needs. There's not even that much of that. Plus, we're going to have Vikings soon enough. Clem's on top of things.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the Colossus is a tipping point unit. One of them doesn't really change everything. When you get up to 2, 3 and you're microing well, things can start to get nice, but he was never able to reach that position. And now it's just, again, a single Colossus with a bunch of gateway units. The Marines and Marauders aren't worried about the Stalkers and Zealots. He can kite those guys for days. He can rip them apart. There's a huge amount of open space to spread out against the Colossus. Look at this. Marines on the right side, Marauders on the left. Yeah, go ahead, kite. Have fun shooting armored units. GG, Clem, 2-0 in stellar fashion, looking like